Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's back. The beer's back. That's right. Pursuit of Hoppiness is back. Beer aplenty. We're talking beers. Did I mention the beer? Oh, we have got all sorts today. The boys went off to a beer festival. Working, volunteering, taste testing. That's right. We have a like a guest review. That's right. Somebody wrote into us and reviewed some beer, and we're going to let you know what they thought. And we've got all the others, all the goodies. Guest Matt's ABV. That's always a podcast favourite. If you're checking us out on YouTube, do think about subscribing. And if you're just listening along, then that's fine too, but you can also subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. So, here we go. It's CookieCast. It's the Pursuit of Hoppiness.
Recording in progress.
It's not wrong, you know. Apparently we're recording on all fronts. So, for this one, it's over to Matt to lead us off.
Well, right. Good evening, everybody, or good day, or hello to everybody. Welcome to the Pursuit of Hoppiness. We've gone on an extended journey for the for a while. We've not been pursuing, or we have been pursuing hoppiness, but we haven't been sharing our findings with you for a while. So let's get into it as quickly as possible. So we have Mr. Paul Williams.
Hello, everybody.
Mr. Andrew Cook.
Oh, hello.
And Mr. Stuart Woodmansey.
Hello.
And just while Andy finishes there, we'll I think we're done because Andy's found what he's looking for, and it'll just be me, Paul, and Stu from now on.
Look at that.
So why don't we start there then? What is that? It looks a little hazy.
I was really looking forward to this because I don't know if this fits in with you boys. Just 1 second. But I am loving collabs. Collabs seem to be where it's at for me at the moment. Obviously, my favourite is a collab. So when I heard the words Tiny Rebel collab, well, yes, please. So this is the Speak Easy.
Ooh, Tiny Rebel and who's?
So Let's Talk and Tiny Rebel.
I'm pretty sure it's something to do with the mental health awareness thing that they did. So they got people in. So it's predominantly the Tiny Rebel brewery experience combined with the cause, I believe. But yeah, looks good. That
Does look good. The reaction. It was very enticing.
So
the cause? Are they a band?
I'm really enjoying the artwork. The artwork's really cool. There's all sorts of stuff all over the can. There's like a website for soletstalk.co, Instagram, Facebook, all that's on the side. There's a load of stuff on the back. Let's face it, you know, it's So Let's Talk is a not-for-profit platform that provides preventative and holistic sessions on mental, physical and financial health to hospitality professionals. By drinking this tasty liquid, you are directly supporting the hospitality industry. I am there. So I saved it for the podcast. I saved it for cracking it open at the start of the podcast. I have done both of those, and I'm going to enjoy this forthwith.
Excellent. So good beer and good book. Okay, kind of drinking beers and that kind of thing. The hospitality industry that kind of went through, suffered quite badly through the pandemic. They're doing things to support each other. I think that's kind of is a good thing. And so we're going to touch on different bits as we go through this. But in our Pursuit of Hoppiness, it took us to look into volunteering at a beer festival in Leeds. So at Hop City, the 7th of August. So that's the we say annual, but not so much with the pandemic and a bit of waiting around. It's a kind of annual light beers, hoppy beers festival. The brewery is Northern Monk that run that. So we did some volunteering, and then we did some tasting. So we're going to crack on with beers of the month, and we're going to have festival beer, our favourite beer that we drank at the festival, and then we're going to have our favourite beer that we've drank out of our stashes, kind of like out of our own kind of in our own home. Also, maybe if we manage to venture to another brewery at some point, that might come into play, as it were. Right, Stu, we'll do the round robin of the festival beers that we enjoyed.
Okay, so I'm pleased that you came to me first, because it means that I get to tell you both of mine, and then you guys can pull faces as you're like, that's what I picked as well. So I can't separate two beers from the festival. However, they did both come from the same brewery. So there came a certain point in the events where we'd finished our volunteering and we were definitely well on our way with all of the samples, and we came across a brewery called Tripping Animals, and they had two beers. One was called King Louis Pie, and one could not be any more aptly named Super Duper Nice, because it really was. Both of them lovely fruity numbers, definitely way up on the old fruit-based sour scale, but just ridiculously thick, ridiculously juicy, and just like it didn't even feel like a beer until probably about 20 minutes after we'd had them. And then obviously we were lucky enough that Mr. Moore got some tins in for the room as well for afterwards, so we even had a little bit of extras on the old Tripping Animal stuff after the festival. But honestly, never seen that brewery before, never heard of them at all, ever. Exactly what the festival was all about, because now we've got somebody that I'll definitely be hunting down to try more of their stuff. So yeah, Super Duper Nice and King Louis Pie was where it was at for me for the festival.
Yeah, I think the one thing I would kind of like add to that is almost the mouthfeel when you were drinking it was a bit like more beery than sometimes like a sour. Sometimes a sour can be a little bit kind of dry or a bit not fizzy, but that kind of thing. It can definitely taste different. But this one their beers kind of had a light, slightly kind of IPA kind of mouthfeel when you were drinking it. I think that's made it a whole lot nicer and easier to drink when we were drinking. But those beers were mental. Yes,
I think it's probably a sign of a good beer at a beer festival when you're constantly travelling back time after time to get as much of it as you can. As you know, they're probably operating from a small barrel, which they were.
Not only that is that a good sign, but also the fact that when we got there, one of the guys who was organising the festival from Northern Monks was like, "Have you had their beers? You need to try their beers." Like straight away, he was the first one they mentioned. So
and like get in there quick because they sell out. I mean that like you kind of thingy. Right then, Mr. Williams, your beers of the festival.
They have both been mentioned by Mr. Woodmansey. Unfortunately, I was too busy actually drinking said beers to notify myself of what beers I was actually drinking. So I am completely at a loss as to what I actually consumed that day. But from what I can remember, other than those two, there was a Northern Monk banana mango lassi, which was very nice. That was actually something we had in cans, courtesy of Mr. Moore, which was very kind. Now, unfortunately, there was something that happened with that can in that it had to be recalled due to fermentation in the can. I'm just trying to find the picture that I have of my specific can, as it was interesting. Let's do that. Talk amongst yourselves while I try and find the picture.
I mean, by the time that we had the message to say that had happened, though, I'd already finished mine off. I enjoyed it at the festival so much.
That's true.
I think I drank the can of it 2 to 3 days after the beer festival because I'd enjoyed it so much. It was straight up. It was bumped up the list big time, and it's weird because I'm not really massively one for banana based things because I've always had that thing about it always tastes a bit fake. Like, you know, if you get like a banana milkshake, it's got that like forced banana taste to it.
Almost tastes like was it like antibiotics when you were a kid?
Yeah.
Like it's banana flavour, or they kind of soft chew kind of bananas. But
no, thank you.
I think the best thing about it is that banana can be like a very dominant flavour. So, you know, you put it in a smoothie or something like that, and it completely takes over the kind of taste of whatever else you put in there. And it wasn't like a overly dominant kind of banana kind of flavour, because sometimes if you just get a smidge in there, you're like, you go to McDonald's and get a milkshake, and you're like, God, who's had banana before me? Which animal has done this? You're like, God damn it! Yeah.
So, to put it in perspective, this was the can that Mr. Moore had, and if you look at the ring pull, you can just see a very slight sort of bowing of the top of the can. So just bear that in mind for the can that I was in possession of, which, needless to say, had I not got to it when I did, I would be -1 property. So let's have a look. Obviously, the suspense is probably killing everybody. So remember the very slight bow on the top of the can compared to that. Yes, I would say that had some extra fermentation in that particular batch or that particular can. But regardless of that, the beer itself at the festival was very nice.
It was very, very tasty. Yeah. Alright, so if I go for mine, I got the one that I've kind of the two tripping animal ones were by far the outstanding ones that we drank. The two that I put as my reserve ones, and I thought one of you would have said this one, the Pythagorean Rounder Shed from Pomona Island Brewing Company, the Manchester-based one that whenever I see their beers, I'm like, I want that beer, and I can very rarely get my hands on it. But that kind of like fruited sour, it's like almost, I mean, you dare say in that kind of neck of the woods, a triple fruited goes kind of thing. The blackberry, blueberry, raspberry, it was just a really good drink. There you go, yeah, kind of smoothie kind of looking thing. And then just for the kind of occasion and the fact that, they kind of, I'll chuck ourselves in with this beer dorks that were about the broccoli special reserve by the other half brew company. It was an Imperial double IPA, rocking in with an 8.3%, and it was just like it was just a perfect balance, and you could see why. We were stood there serving, and people were going, "Is the broccoli on yet? Is the broccoli on yet? Is the broccoli on yet?" And we're like, "No, not yet. Go away," kind of thing. And then eventually it went on, and then it was gone again within half an hour, 45 minutes maybe.
It was absolutely nothing to do with the fact that we drank it, because we did sample it, because obviously we were told to, but definitely didn't finish the barrel off that. As soon as that came on, there was queues, weren't there? Like out of the tent.
I mean, to be fair, the moment that the festival opened, the other half brewing they were queuing out the tent for the two. Like they had two triple IPAs. One was a Mosaic, one was a Citra. Both absolutely stunning. And then they were like, wait for the broccoli kind of special reserve to come out, and you're like, oh, good. And you know it's good when other members of staff and other people at the fest, like who are kind of working at the festival, like. Just gives a little that plays kind of thing. You're like, right, kind of, the main folks are coming by. You put the broccoli on, yeah, all right, yeah. Just let me know when that happens, all right, kind of thing, because it was outstanding. And it's one of them ones where I'm like sat there thinking, I genuinely don't think I had a bad beer. I think out of the 20 that we had, it wasn't like, oh man, I'm gutted that I queued up for that one, or I'm gutted that I wasted a drink on that one. There wasn't a single one, because sometimes you kind of pick a beer and you're like, oh man, I've kind of wasted however long I spent in the queue and kind of having to consume it. Or as infamously the first time me and Stu went to Dark City, which is the other festival, or Dark and Wild City, it's known as now. The first time we went to that, we ended up having to pour one away because it was not good, and we were just like, no, we just can't even finish this one. And it was everyone had said, oh, you've got to have this one, and you kind of like, so you have that trepidation, and the next time someone says, you should get this one, you're kind of like,
if my memory serves me correctly, it was a chocolate chip cookie stout, and it was called, I think it might have even been called Cookie Monster, and it had all of the potential ingredients, not to the good name, the nice sounding ingredients, the thickness of it, and it was just like, oh man, that was such a letdown. But
it's like it had been made or brewed by the actual Cookie Monster, or from the actual Cookie Monster. So it was not good. Right then, so we've done our beers of the festival. And I dare say...
Sorry, just before you go any further, speaking of beers of the festival, obviously they do brew a festival beer. So this was the beer festival beer that Northern Monk brewed especially for the Hop City 2021. Obviously we did have a little sampler of this at the same time as we had the Banana Mango Lassie, and it was perfectly nice from what I can remember.
It nailed the brief. It was a nice hoppy kind of double dry hopped IPA from, like I said, from memory serves. It was, to be fair to us, it was probably around like 17 or 18 of at the point of 20 beers. So it was late on in the evening. So come on, give us a little break. We've been investigating hard for the Pursuit of Hoppiness brethren, quality beers.
But in the hard yards, obviously.
100%. Right, so beers of the month that have come that weren't at the festival. Andy, do you want to start with? Have you got another one? Aside from we're kind of going straight in hot with the Tiny Rebel collab.
Yeah, I mean, I was super excited to get that. Do want to? I know we've done this before, and I know it's one of those. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it again too much. But I do want to just give Trembling Madness another shout out. Placed an order well past 4 o'clock one day last week. Within half an hour, there was a knock at the door. I had like a series of emails, like your order's been processed. Your order's been received. Your order's been processed. Your order's out for delivery within like minutes of each other, and then within half an hour there was a knock at the door. So before 5, it was still delivered. Did find out, which was strange, that where they ship their beers from is not where I thought they shipped their beers from. They ship from a little localer to me. That was
so a warehouse.
Good to find out. The guy was like, "Feel free to put more orders in. Right. Okay.
I mean, that's really good, because I think, we've kind of griped about it a little bit, and it's probably going to be a little bit of a bugbear of mine continuing, is that your local breweries, and, this is not all local breweries, should probably provide some kind of local delivery that's free of charge.
Absolutely.
It's not a massive kind of like outtaking to kind of go relatively local to where you are. I'm having a dig at a local brewery to me. If you want to collect it, that's free. Fine. It's about a half an hour walk, so maybe they're thinking about your health. But the fact that some local beer shops, local pubs, particularly I'm going to shout out a couple in Newcastle, Nord, which is kind of like my beer shop of choice, and the Free Trade Inn. That's a really nice pub that overlooks the Tyne. They do free local delivery. It's not so much. It's not so much. It's just that little extra mile. If you want people in the local area to keep on using your beer shop or keep on using your brewery, you might want to sweeten the deal, because those people are going to be around for a while. Fair enough. People around the country, around the world might drink your beers, but the people locally are going to be about. So I think that's cracking service. I mean, like, that's virtually those kind of things that you used to see, where it's like, order beer at 11 o'clock at night and you can have some at like 12. But it's like a 24 slab of Carling that you're going to regret at like 3 o'clock in the morning.
One of the guys I used to work with refers to that as cooking lager. Cooking wine or cooking sherry.
But didn't people say that if it's going to be, you should cook with wine that you drink yourself? So surely that should be also what you should be doing with beer then.
Having during lockdown, having during lockdown investigated with beer battered chicken, and using Tiny Rebel Club Tropicana to do it. Yes, I agree with that sentiment entirely.
I've got a few cans of Hickey the Rake in the fridge. One of those could definitely be sent towards the beer battering of some stuff. Right, and so
obviously,
beers of the month that weren't at the festival. Stu?
Yep, mine actually. I mean, I feel like we were spoiled that weekend, because not only did we have all of that, but then I was also away with the family, so I took a bit of the stash with me, and one of the ones that fell into said stash was another Tiny Rebel collaboration beer. However, it was Tiny Rebel and Brew York as part of the Freaky franchise series, of which everything was themed around a Halloween movie, art-wise, and scarily high ABVs as well. It was a 14% Rocky Road's ice cream pastry stout. So if you were ever going to have a dessert in a glass, this would be it. For the YouTubes amongst you, there is a little picture going up on there right now. It was as dark as you would imagine it to be. So the artwork, you can see maybe a little bit on the can, had a bit of Freddy Krueger involved as well. But yeah, I don't know what number in the series that was, but I feel like 14 must have been fairly close to the 14% must have been fairly close to the end. I find when they try and flavour beers or stouts, whatever, and they make them that high ABV, sometimes it loses the flavour a little bit, and it ends up being a bit burny, or like it kind of the alcohol takes away from it. But no, it did exactly what it needed to do. It was sweet in the right places. It had that kind of the dryness of the pastry bit to it. It was just a vanilla-y from the ice cream, so it ticked every box. Absolutely couldn't fault it. It's I don't know if they've done the Freaky franchise series before this year, but skipping ahead a little bit, I'm hoping that they'll do it again sometime, because that was incredible.
I would say that I think we Brew York is one of the group collective kind of favourites. I would kind of say that's probably Paul's home kind of turf, as it were. But their stouts are outstanding. I think kind of in that kind of like probably the stouts, the sours that they do is like right up there with the kind of thing, and the what they do with stouts, kind of. Spoiler alert: we've got a listener review coming at the end of the pod, and they have reviewed one of the Brew York ones, and I mean, we've talked about the stash before. I was going through the stash the other day, we doing a bit of an inventory, kind of trying to see where we're at, and I found said beer. It's stayed in its order because that's where it goes, we'll get to there, and no doubt in about 6 months' time I'll agree with all this. Paul, your beer of the month.
So I was gonna go complete homer and give a Brew York beer, as I'd just had a can of the Ripple Twister, which was excellent. And then I remember that the week before that, I had cracked open the North triple fruited ghost box, and it reminded me that I'd taken down this little number, which was the Tayberry triple fruited goes, and I would go so far as to say that could be, for my money, the best triple fruited goes that North have ever done. I thought that was absolutely excellent.
That's a big statement. That
it is, and I mean, obviously the boysenberry one that they did was.
I was going to say that one.
Top bollocks, let's say. I'll give you my review that I put onto Untapped. What's that? North Brewing have released yet another TFG banger, you say? Thick and juicy, yet sharp and just the right level of sourness. Beautiful.
Excellent. Again, spoiler alert. In the fridge, the time will come. It's just not right now. But I'm looking forward to them because I'm going to sit there, probably get all three in the fridge, sit there with my Ponce glass, sup all three of them, and enjoy them thoroughly. But that looks good. It looks good. I think that's sort of the thing sometimes. When it looks good in the glass, you're like,
it had a great pour in it. Let's put it that way. I know it was only out of a can, but it poured well. So after the bottle was done.
I'm gonna stick on the our brewery of the month, and being as we were technically employees for 4 hours or however long we ended up grafting for, I'm gonna go with Northern Monk. So I'm being a proper like Homer kind of. Please let us come to your festivals again. I mean, I'm sure when I pay for a ticket, they'll have me back. So I think, but. They release it every year. Every year I buy it. Every year it never disappoints. Every year it does things to me that, beers probably shouldn't. But the glory, and it's not morning, it's in the evening from a beer. But glory, the triple IPA that they do, I've had that this month, and it leaves me speechless every time. It's kind of one of them things where we talked about being beer dogs. Is it as good as last year's? It probably isn't quite as good as last year's, but it's just such a good beer. I love a triple IPA. I'm currently drinking a triple IPA. I've got several triple IPAs in the fridge as we speak. And glory, it's just it does that thing that triple IPAs do as like a little treat, and it's that it drinks, and it kind of seems to miss out the double IPA side of things. Whereas like you can get a double IPA and it's got like a burn to it, and you kind of oof, that's a bit much. That I can't imagine where it would go next. Whereas a triple IPA seems to go, all right, fine, I'll see the burn. I'll get rid of the burn. I'll go super juicy and super drinkable, and you'll drink that way too quick than you should do. And good luck standing up, because those jelly legs that you now have, they're proper jelly. You kind of barely set jelly, it's just every year whenever whenever that kind of thing ticks up on Facebook or pops up on Instagram or from your local beer shop says Northern Monk, Death and Glory are in. Do you want them? Yeah. I'll have a can for me and I'll have a can for my mates as well because everybody should be drinking them every year. And the Death Stout it's somewhere in the stash. It's an absolute stout.
If it's a stout, I imagine it'll be way down the pecking order.
I can't remember. I think it's one of the ones where the actual date is quite short. So it might. I'm not sure. It might have even been drunk already. It might have been in there before the Glory. There's a vicious rumour. I've never actually ever got around to it. Of mixing Death and Glory together. But apparently it's meant to be really good. And tonight I'm drinking Honour, the
there you go.
West Coast Triple IPA.
That Spider-Man gif in somewhere now.
It's not as good as Glory. Would be my immediate reaction to it. It's got a sharp finish to it that I don't know. It kind of doesn't quite fit my taste palette.
Give it a minute.
We've kind of gone. I don't know if anyone's got their shop beer of the month.
Well, at this point, I would like to be a massive letdown and say I have been that guy this month. I can't give you a supermarket beer of the month because all I've drank is non-supermarket beer. So,
But can I offer one up to the suggestion? And I believe it was the Buxton Lemon Meringue Pale that was £5 in Tesco. I think it's been dropped to $3.50 or something like that.
Is that the Omnipolo collab? Yeah. I think
they're in the process of getting rid of it because Tesco's have got a new craft range in the last week. So they've got plenty of new stuff from Vocation. I think what is possibly the first widely available triple IPA in a supermarket as well from Vocation. That was about £5 a can. But they've
big boy girl and big boy pants and big boy them or gender neutral pants on and try that one.
They've changed their beer buyer. They rotate their head beer buyer on a regular basis so that it doesn't stay the same products all the time, which I think is a good strategy. But I mean, it must be an awesome job to have.
It's a very
When does that
isn't
job
it?
come up?
I think every 6 to 12 months. I think, Matt, you need to get on that.
Oh man, I can't only work for 6 months. For Christ, that's the job I'd like.
I think what they do is they look at all of the untapped reviews that anyone's ever put on. And if you've got more than 10,000 beers checked in, you can have the job or something. So get ranking.
I know I need to start working harder.
Just get to the end of the stash. You'll complete it, mate. That's it.
Honestly. Yeah, I think it's that Omnipolo Buxton Lemon kind of thing is. We've mentioned that one before. I've got it it's in the fridge, ready to be consumed. It's an absolute cracker. But I'm going to stay on brand. And there's two in the Northern Monk have two in Tesco that I've seen. I'm sure we've mentioned it before. It's the Faith in Futures. It's the Northern Monk Ince collab. It's an absolutely stunning beer. It's a New England IPA. It blows, I would say, most supermarket beers out of the water. The one that I'd really like to try, but I honestly can't justify it at the moment, is the Northern Monk Steakbirds collab.
In a blue can, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had that. It's nice, but it's not. I don't think it's as good as the Inter beer. So I think you've steered the right course there.
Yeah. So if you've got a choice, I mean, buy both. But if you're only going to buy one, we would recommend the Inter beer. It's really top quality for supermarket beer. Also, just as a kind of like heads up for folks, North, I know it's Leeds. They get along. It's fine. You know, people in Leeds have to stick together and all that. North and Alpha Delta, which are a northeast brewing company, contrary to what was said at Hop City. They're a northeast brewing company, have collabed to do a Tesco beer. It's in Tesco right now.
In my fridge right now.
It's in Stu's fridge. It's also in my fridge right now because I was like, I ain't missing out on this one. So that one can just slot nicely into the stash. If anything, I think me and Paul were speaking to the brewer at Alpha Delta. The guy's hilarious. So just support a small. It's quite a small local brewery to Newcastle, and they're doing some really interesting beers. I think we had a nice farmhouse sour from them in that kind of time when we were having the pie from Maureen round a shed and a couple of other beers, which was really good. I mean, to be honest, like I said, we had 20 beers. There wasn't a bad beer in that 20. It was just sometimes, you know, you can't have 20 winners.
I don't want to. Don't know if I'm going to be treading on Andy's toes a little bit here, but obviously, viewers and listeners of the podcast will know that we've mentioned some non-alcoholic beers on one of the podcasts we designated to fully non-alcoholic beers. And one of the ones that came up was Laser Crush by Beavertown. I believe you can now get a 4-pack of that in Tesco. So
in Tesco, wow! All right then.
Good. So that's just one for the non-alcoholic beer drinkers out there. Speaking of which, have you got a non-alcoholic beer of the month from a supermarket, Andy, or have you just been trembling the madness in it all the time?
As with my previous shout out, I do fall into the category of I haven't had a supermarket beer. What I can say, and I feel some pride in saying this with your mention of Laser Crush, even though the order came from Trembling Madness, and I do like to try new things. There's definitely a Laser Crush in there, which is just chilling in the fridge right now. I think I can safely say on any big beer purchase to date, there is a Laser Crush always in there.
I know, like, kind of letting people behind the curtain and stuff. I think me, Stu and Paul were messaging a while back. I had a pint of Bloody Hell, the Beavertown Blood Orange IPA, which was probably 4 or 5 years ago, was one of my favourite beers. I absolutely love that beer, and I had it at a pub a few weeks ago, and it was not good, and I was absolutely devastated by it. But their non-alcoholic one, the Laser Crushes, it's so good. I mean, like, I've been out and bought like 2 or 3 of them just to put in the fridge, just as, like, you know, when you kind of had water or you've had some kind, you know, so it's just something different to drink, and it's just it's, you know, take away the kind of alcohol volume. It's a really nice drink to drink. It's a good beer to drink. And you know, we're going to sing that. We'll keep on singing that one's praises for a while because it's just a proper beer. It's a proper beer, and I think that's the best thing you can say about it is that you drink it and you think, yeah, that's, you know, close your eyes and, you know, write 4.5 on the side of it and stop being a twat about whether it's got alcohol in it or not. Does it taste like a beer? Yeah. Right then. So, as you know, we've kind of spoiled it all the way through. And if you have a look at my t-shirt, I've been waiting to rock this for a while. I've shed a few pounds to make sure I can wear this t-shirt exclusively on the beer pod, for the Northern Monk beer pod, for you folks. So the brewery of the month, after much dancing around it, folks, is Northern Monk. I'm gonna admit to it. It's a personal favourite. It's a favourite of the brethren, the group of the Pursuit of Hoppiness. Obviously, the brethren is also something they use as something to call the people that work for them, that enjoy their beers and kind of take part in it. So they're quite a young brewery as well. So they started in 2014 at the old Flack store in Leeds, and I was thinking about this, and biases aside, but I'm still being biased. People are going to probably call me unbiased. I would say it's probably the second best looking brewery in the UK that I've been to visit. It's Wylam at the top. I think the Palace of Arts at Wylam is it's the setting. Stu's pulling a face there. Then the Flack store is the old Flack store is very, very close, and then Tiny Rebel's very modern looking brewery is third. And so I've kept everybody. I think I probably haven't kept everybody happy, but I'm the host.
You can't please everyone. You can't please everybody all the time, Matthew. Don't worry about it.
So we started.
On the note of the Flack store, the only because they've kept the old building, the only thing that lets it down is the staircase and the fact it's so narrow and small, and I think that's the only thing that lets the Flack store down. However, they have branched out now, so they're not just there anymore. But I'll not step on your toes anymore, Mr. Moore.
So as you said, the OG brewery was the old Flack store, 2014, and then. It shows the growth as well. So by April 2017, they'd opened the second brewery at, and I'm going to butcher this, Sydenham Road. And that was April 2017. So it's kind of been like 3 years-ish. I couldn't get an exact date on when they opened the first brewery. And that kind of thing. They can brew over the two sites. They can brew up to 18 beers at the same time. So they're not. I think when you say churning out beers, it sounds kind of condescending, but they're producing a lot of beer. So the old Flack store is a Grade 2 listed building. So it's kind of a brewery and that kind of thing. It's kind of held in a lot of stature. It's also where their tap room is. So like Stu said, the stairs are steep and really, really quite slim. And if you've had a couple of shandies in there, the walk back downstairs is kind of thing. And they generally hold the beer festivals that we're talking about in that building. So apologies to one of the brewers at Wylam that me and Stu accosted at the first time we went to Dark City. But also it's kind of, they're kind of nice, kind of sedate, kind of all on one level kind of way of the Hop City at the big brewery when you kind of think, oh right, if I was in that state at the old Flack store, how might that go? Because that's kind of thing, it's a little bit dangerous. They've also kind of branched out as a lot of breweries do nowadays as they get more and more successful into having a couple of tap rooms of their own. So we kind of already touched on the old Flack store having a tap room in there, but then they've also kind of opened one and they've kind of taken it a little bit further afield, really, in Manchester. So there you go.
Yep.
Definitely, legitimately obtained glasses. And then touching on the kind of, we've kind of spoke about it already, but they have the Hop City Festival, which is kind of obviously IPAs, sours, beers like that. Is it generally kind of June time? My kind of thing is completely thrown off now.
I don't know if it's normally around sort of like May Bank holiday sort of time. Like it is a bit much earlier.
And then the kind of October-November kind of festival is the Dark City, or Dark and Wild, as it's known now. To kind of, so you don't absolutely, as me and Stu did the first time when we went to Dark City, when it was just Dark City and every beer was I'm pretty sure double figures, stouts, porters. It was brutal. You know, when you say to somebody, "I'm worried I might not wake up on the train on the way back," and then they're worried about you not waking up on the train on the way back. That was how heavy that was. So they kind of taken it. I don't want to say taking it down a notch with the wild, but there's that element of sours and kind of something to give you a break.
And it appeals to a different market as well, doesn't it? It hits the middle ground nicely, so that like the people that might enjoy Hop City because of the variation, there is still some of that variation now within Dark and Wild. So hopefully, I mean, I've not seen any news on this year's one yet, but I would assume that the people who organised Hop City got a well-deserved rest after the absolute success in the end that it was. But
they put something on Twitter or possibly Instagram not long after Hop City, bless them, about where would you like it to be held. To kind of gauge where the kind of public, the brethren, the punters would want it to be. So fingers crossed there'll be an announcement about that soon. I think there's a lot of people just kind of waiting on bated breath to see what they do, and by they, you know what I mean by they. We don't talk about that on here. We don't want to get involved in that.
This is a happy place, Matthew. This is a happy place.
It's a happy place. Right. So I'm going to go really quickly through this because I genuinely, in the research that I've done about breweries, they are. I think the word prolific would be a way to describe Northern Monk, considering it's been 7 years of being open. The volume of beers, please go on their website. It's a journey through regret and joy and all that kind of thing of beers that you've loved, beers that you wished you could have loved, and beers that you perhaps didn't love too much, but fair enough, Striding Edge. Speaking of which, the core range that can be found on their website, and mostly a lot of these are found in supermarkets as well. So I've got Faith, which is quite a nice. I enjoy Faith. It's a hazy pale, 5.4%, quite easy drinking. New World IPA, 6.2%. Eternal, which is a session IPA, 4.1%. Origin, which is a gluten-free IPA, 5.7%. Northern Star, which is a chocolate caramel biscuit porter, 5.2%. Striding Edge, which is a light IPA for 2.8%. And Heathen, which is an IPA, which is 7.2% proper beer with a proper IPA, with a proper ABV. I'm just, bit
of banter there for the lads.
Bit of fishing on a Wednesday night.
Woodmansey was almost there. He was almost on the hook.
So I think that's a core range. I think I'm winding people up. You don't have to drink it if you don't want to drink it. I'm not going to drink it. It's a solid core range. There's quite a lot of different beers in there. And I think they're branching out into like I said. I'm pretty sure in saying that you can get most of those beers in your local supermarket.
Yeah, Morrison's especially seem to be the guys that seem to have the link up with Northern Monk.
Tesco as well, to be fair. I think I've seen the is it Stars and Stripes is the peanut butter stout that they do. Yeah. That seems to have been in Tesco for at least the last year or 2 years. They usually seem to have a couple of Northern Monks in there, so yeah.
But if you're new to Northern Monk and you're kind of thinking, right, what should I try? I would recommend picking most of them.
Now,
can I have one of each of these beers that are stocked here, please?
Basically, if you like a really light beer that also has a hop hit to it, Striding Edge is absolutely fine. I think personally the reason that Matt takes some contempt
what is going on
is the fact that it tastes like it should be like a 6% beer, but it's about 2.8.
Well, and to bring Andy back in again, they've gone even further and they brewed a super stretch, which was the 0.5%.
Yeah, this is so. I went on. So their website is absolutely mind blowing. Honestly, you could get lost in there like for ages. So they have all their beers sectioned out into things. So they have their core section. Makes research for this podcast so much easier.
No, to
also
future
have-
breweries. Not to future breweries.
Please help. They have the twist section. And I went through this one and I was like, I picked some that I really wish I've had and some that I remember having that I really enjoyed, and also ones that people might like this. People on this podcast who may not drink beers with high ABVs might be interested in what I'm about to say. The first one is not for you, Andy. It's called The Day of the Death, which is a twist on the death, which has cinnamon, vanilla, and chipotle spice in it. It's 11% ABV. It's absolutely brutal because it drinks like a kind of not a middling stout. It's absolutely delicious. It's the stout that if someone said to me, right, you can only drink one stout for the rest of your life, which one's it going to be? I'd be like, yep, can I have that one, please? It's going to end my life quickly, but I will really enjoy my life whilst drinking it.
I seem to think that was the beer that we brought you one of them back from the Dark and Wild when it was me and Paul and Mr. Panas.
Yes, I think
that does ring a bell. Actually, yeah, it's a good point. Actually,
I think you definitely kind of sent me a picture saying, "Would you like this?" And I don't think I replied promptly because I must have been doing something that was probably child related. I was looking after my little boy.
Carry on.
Moving swiftly.
Had a 10% triple IPA. You're in West Coast IPA. It's things. The tongue gets loose. And you're like, I was like, oh, yes, please, and please tell me that you've got me one of those because I want it so bad. And luckily you had, and kept me right because that was God, Jesus, it's such a good beer. So then moving through it, I looked through and I found the Super Stretch, which is the Striding Edge kind of really low IPA, which is 0.5%.
I think I've had that beer.
And what?
I've certainly tried it, and I think I bought you one as a gift. So
I was going to say, I believe it was in a box that Mr. Williams furnished me with.
Memorable or not?
I liked it.
It was fine.
Like in a kind of like flames all around you with a mug of coffee kind of.
Now, this is only going to work if it was my feed that sort of is the podcast feed. But obviously, this is a sort of a top versus bottom situation going on here. So me and Stu on the top like the beer. Matt and Andy on the bottom do not like the beer.
all I remember is cracking it open, pouring it, drinking it, and being like, I'm sure Northern Monk's like, a Pursuit of Hoppiness favourite. This doesn't strike me as being
very flavoursome.
Amazing.
Look at that face. Look at that face. He's so happy right now.
You genuinely could have
sent me like a divisive beer, shall we? And move along.
We need to do some kind of editing to turn him into the Emperor from Star Wars. Yeah. Come to the dark side.
The one wearing white is the one kind of encouraging the evilness. The next one in the kind of like alcohol-free, low alcohol one is Holy Faith, which is a hazy pale, which sounds more promising. Faith is, if someone said to me, introduction to Northern Monk, I'd say Faith would be a beer that I would encourage them to use, to drink. So I'd hope that Holy Faith stays pretty true to the faith flavour. And then the other ones in the twist that I looked at, which just piqued my interest, was the Passion Fruit Lassie Heathen, which is an IPA, 7.2%. I was like, yeah, that sounds great. I'm sure I've seen that in a shop. And then the Flake and Sauce Ice Cream Pale Ale. And I'm sure one of you guys have had that, haven't you?
I think I had it, but I can't remember it off the top of my head.
This is the thing you said about they've got the facility to churn out the beers now. They do not stop, do they? They've literally got something on the go. And if they've got the one thing that I like about Northern Monk, or one of the things I like about Northern Monk, if they've got a spare tank, they're quite happy to help out their friends as well. Like they'll
yeah.
Go on, Matt.
Yeah, and they'll do kind of quote unquote weird shit. We kind of talked about the Aunt Bessie's and Jam Roly Poly collabs. They did a collab with Seabrooks with cheese and onion and prawn cocktail beers.
A prawn cocktail and a cheese and onion lager from memory.
Yeah. What was the one before? Was it the Worcester sauce one? Was it with?
No, Liam Perrin's one, wasn't it? Stout.
Yeah.
Henderson's? Had that as well. It was good.
That was really tasty. That was the Worcester sauce. Kind of actually did offer something to the beer. It was good.
That reminds me, actually, when are you guys going to do a live tasting for the Marmite beer?
Well, I'll be all over that. I will definitely give that a go.
So Stu's doing that one on his own. And we'll go from
Andy, me, will do that as an unboxing video. It'll be fine.
Yeah. Do they do a non-alcohol
I'll do an unboxing video, and then all right, yeah. So this is the bit where you can either turn off or watch a couple of weirdos drink Marmite beer, because there's no way I'm drinking that shit.
Hey, if there was a way that Marmite was liquid enough to drink, I'd give that a go on its own. So
Absolutely.
The fact that they're mixing beer is fine for me.
Absolutely.
I think the worrying thing is that I can't think. Is it Marmite or Vegemite that's in Burton, and because it's an after Marmite?
It's a yeast extract, isn't it? Because Vegemite is the Aussie version.
So they've got so yeah, it's a byproduct of alcohol or of beer production. So I'm like, yeah,
Yep.
it's just
There was a Marmite shortage during the pandemic because nobody was making any beer.
No.
Gutted. And I bought tubs that were like this because I was like, can't run out of Marmite, gonna need to get some. Oh, it only comes in like tubs like this. You know those tubs you get for like plastering walls. It was like a mini version of that. I was like, yes, I want to plaster a wall with some Marmite.
So if we come around next time, the dog and the cats are licking parts of the house, you're like, all right, okay, well, so
tastes
that
like
Marmite
Twiglets
on it, and we have to use it somewhere. So then I've looked at we've kind of touched on this already. The seasonal beers, again, I can't stress this enough. I'm just talking about the ones that I looked at. And I was like, yes, please. So the Death Imperial Stout, it's 12%. It's absolutely stunning. It knocks your socks off. You want to drink it again and keep on drinking it. The Glory Triple IPA, it's already my beer of the month. What more do you want? The Honor Triple IPA, that's what we're consuming now. It's kind of now it's settled down in my glass a little bit. It feels better. It drinks better.
You know what I find? Because you're drinking that right now, though. Do you know, for a triple IPA, it's remarkably thin, but it still feels like it's kicking my ass a little bit.
It's definitely kicking my ass, but it's definitely thin as well. I think that's the disappointment. It's like when you look at something, that doesn't look like a triple IPA. You're expecting like cloudy, dank, thick kind of stuff, and it doesn't really drink. Like, doesn't look and perhaps doesn't really drink that way. And then, of course, Paul's mentioned it already, the Hop City. So they generally brew a beer with the Hop City kind of thing. They also do one with North, don't they? Is that Hit the North? The kind of thing. But they haven't done that in a while.
No, they've not done it for a while, actually. And it's disappointing that they've not, because that was always one of my favourites. Obviously, previous listeners will know that I'll be I am the North poster boy in that respect, and I will always fly that flag. And I always thought the North one was better than the Northern Monk one, if that makes sense. The one that was featured at their end better. But they've done some awesome stuff. Like the year that they did the black coffee and white coffee IPAs at the different sides, and the cans were like, if you put them together, it was a map from one brewery to the other. Like, awesome. Like, they nailed everything that year. They need to get back on that. But I think that both now have got to the point where they're of a decent footing. So like I don't know if it's because they maybe don't need to do that anymore. But if any of them are listening to this, then please do it. Please get back on that, because the Hit the North thing was great.
It was one of them ones that you mark in your calendar, kind of like, I better check out for the Hit the North. It comes under the bracket of the Wild and Yeasty Boys collab, also the North Pariah kind of bike ride kind of one as well.
I remember that the white coffee IPA one was one of the first things I had in a growler, and everybody remembers their first growler. But it was it was like to get a litre of that. Just yes, please do it again. In fact, Matt, just mark it down now. The rebrews thing, both coffee IPAs from Hit the North. Do it.
I'll mention that at the end. So the next thing, and I think we'll probably agree on this one. It's one of my favourite things that they do is the Patrons series. Now, I knew it was the case with one of the series that it was a 7 beer series. What I didn't realise was that every Patron series is meant to be a 7 beer series. So what they do is they collab with, I think it's generally artists, athletes, creators, food shops that are in the local area. So mainly focusing on Leeds, but also other people like the kind of thing. So they share ideas, they share kind of designs. And as Stu's got there, he's got the INSA series, which once you've collected all 6, as Stu has there, you got a nice little bonus 7th one, which resulted in a unique can that was spray painted, was part of a display that was spray painted, and that triple IPA was absolutely fucking stunning. Just to let people know, there you go. So there's so that can is somewhere in that display as Stu's demonstrating there. So I went through some of the ones that I've drank, or wish I'd drank. So Patron 3.06, Whale of Two Cities, a double IPA 6.4%, brewed with Equilibrium Brewery. I remember that one. It's one that I had probably 3 or 4 years ago. I still can, it's when you look at the can and you're like, I remember that beer. I love that beer. The Victorian Lemonade IPA that they did with Magic Rock as a collab, that was 4.04. That was absolutely fantastic. Then I liked their sports one that they did. I think it was generally with Dea and Verdant, which are 2 breweries that definitely will be coming up on this feed at some point, because holy shit, those 2 breweries are fantastic. So 6.01 Hazemaker, a New England IPA at 7.4%. 6.02 Knuckle Puck, for those Mighty Duck fans out there. Another New England double IPA, 8.5%, and 6.03 Slam Dank. And I remember buying that one because it had, sound daft, it's got basketball on the can, on the art, and I was like, yeah, I'm buying that. And holy shit, that was a fantastic beer. This one is a little kind of getting over crossover, and I think Stu would be cross if I didn't mention it. The Northern Rumble, which was the Milk Sugar IPA, 7.4%, which had a variety of northern celebrities made up as wrestlers. It is as mental as you think it's going to be, so please go on the Northern Monk website and look at that can, because I'm furious that I threw it away. I'm furious that it's gone. I want it back because it was absolutely awesome. I can't remember who Brian Blessed is, but it's brilliant. I'll just put this one down. 17.01 to 0.07. That's the Inza one. There you go. From start to finish, that kind of collab, that patron series was absolutely fantastic.
Hands down, my favourite series they've done. Not because I haven't kept these necessarily because I'm a geek. I do like the Insta style of artwork, but there was also, like as Matt mentioned earlier on, that if you got all 6, then you got priority access to the secret 7th one, which was the spray paint can. This was something that finished around the time that lockdown hit. So the 6th beer was released from memory around Christmas time 2019, with the idea that then they would get into brewing the secret 7th one early in 2020. And we all know how 2020 turned out, so it ended up being delayed by a good stretch. But it was, you had to submit, like Insa, the artist, has his own app, and you had to use the app to scan all of the labels together like this, all together, and it gave you like a certain code that you then had to then submit to. So it was quite convoluted, I guess, in that respect, but also kind of like rewarding for the fact that not only have you had 6 awesome beers, a particular highlight as well from that would have been the 3rd one, Pete's Dark Past, chocolate, caramel, and biscuit stout. Yes, please. It was like liquid boost, essentially. It was awesome. But yeah, that was a particular favourite, and the one after it as well, Wants and Needs, Northern Monk and Barrier Double Dry Hop Pale Ale 5.2. That was a particular favourite.
The last one I've got is, I haven't tried it. I voted for it. They were mine and Stu's kind of next door neighbours when we were working on at Hop City. It's the Mash Gang, and they are a exclusively low ABV brewery. They're based, genuinely, I've looked on their website. I have had beers from them. They generally seem to be all over the place. Some of them are in Wales, some are in Brighton, some of them are in possibly in Leeds as well.
Scotland.
I genuinely no clue exactly where they are. But Gary's Fizzy Army, which is a fruited Berliner Weiss, which is a 2.4%, so probably on the high end of a low ABV. But it's I've never had it. Apparently, it's really kind of difficult to get a hold of. Well, definitely now. But it's meant to be really good. It just fell short in the. So I'm going to I'll bring this up in a minute. But what's currently going on with Northern Monk? If you go onto their Instagram, I think, and their Twitter, they're doing a rebrew of one of their patron beers, and you can vote on that. So I've voted generally with heart, but generally like beers that I've loved, but then also like nice guys that I thought were brewing decent beers that are in an unusual sector. So Mash Gang, I voted for them all the way through, even though they were perhaps going against beers that I'm like, oh man, I like that beer. But I was like, they were really nice guys, and they brew absolutely awesome low ABV beers. So I voted for them. So I wanted to go back to the Flack store, and we kind of think. So it's now not their main brewing place. They use that now to brew small batches of beer. So you've like the OFS series, but they also allow. And we're going to come back to Mash Gang. Other breweries to brew on their kit to kind of produce their like bigger versions of theirs. So like, I think Mash Gang have credited Northern Monk with basically like helping them set up their brewery, because without them and being able to use their kit to brew their beers, they just wouldn't exist. Which I think is a really nice thing. I think that it's quite, within craft beer there seems to be a kind of like a setting they're starting to the bigger breweries are starting to help out the smaller ones, and Northern Monk doing that for Mash Gang and other breweries, I think is a kind of really, really good thing to do. Right, I've rambled on about Northern Monk for a while now. Has anybody got anything else to say?
You covered what I was going to touch on the Hall of Fame thing. The end of that tournament, if you like, with the voting for the rebrew, is that it will be brewed once more, and that is it. So whatever wins, buy it, because it is the last time you'll get it, and there is some really good stuff going on in there.
Buy two of them.
Yeah, buy two of them. As Matt will attest to, buy one for now and one for when its time comes in the queue for the dash.
No, because if you buy two, then one jumps the queue and it just throws the whole system off. Right then. So, we've had a little bit of a change because I'm going to let you, the stash is not what it used to be. And also, two people within this group probably know a little bit too much about the stash now. Being their stash, poor man's stash, is very similar to mine. So to keep it a level playing field, what we've done today is we've gone into the archives of Northern Monk, and they are providing the Matthew's ABV is right. So
this is where we need the Cookie Cast minions to create like a catchy jingle for the different sections into the house.
I've got a jingles guy that I'm in touch with. I've actually received a series of theme tunes.
Get it laid in, man.
So yeah,
if needs be, what we'll do is we'll mention the beginning of the section. Pause. And then you can layer in the jingle in that little space.
And then you can. I mean, I'm worried here that I'm going to be made to look daft. There's going to be kind of daft things put over the top of me, and kind of going to make me look like some 90s kind of game show presenter, which is not a good thing to be, because you know what happens 10, 20 years later.
Moving on.
Things that you might have said about sorting out children previously on another podcast will come back to haunt you.
Other views are held amongst other podcast people.
All right, then. I thought this was particularly appropriate, being as this one. So the first one is no researching, not looking it up. Is the patrons 1.04 Leeds lurking? Because we've got to get a dig in on them. So Leeds lurking. What do we think that is?
I mean, if it's something to do with Leeds, it's got to be something that's particularly dirty, right? So it's going to be some kind of dank, hazy beer. I mean,
is it too simple to say? Is it a beer that goes down easy?
I mean, we know that with a lot of Northern Monk beers, so that's the kind of.
I was going to go with, is it puddle water with loads of fag ends in it?
Well, basically, the flax store is kind of close to the canal, so it might just be a bucket of canal water been put through the fermenter.
Right, so Pursuit of Hoppiness is now cancelled in Leeds, and we're banned from Northern Monk and North. So you've all screwed yourself, because I can still go to my favourite brewery.
Whilst this is all true, We know that it wouldn't be a Pursuit of Hoppiness if he didn't get a mention. But he's there. He might listen to this. He probably won't because it's not his thing. But if you were to ask James Williams, what does this beer taste like? 9 times out of 10, it'll be either dishwater or puddle water. So he would have basically loved that little ditty that Andy just threw out there. So
Don't worry, I've got some lovely names for him coming up soon.
You see, you think I'm joking? I'm sticking with that, and I think the ABV is like 5.6. I think it's a puddle water IPA. And,
Puddle water and fag end IPA.
Yeah, and it's a 5.6 ABV.
On the fact that it's called lurking, you would assume that it's something that's easy drinking, but might kick your backside on the end of it. So I'm gonna say it's higher than that. I'm just gonna say it's a 6% IPA.
So it's up to me then. I'll go with the sort of like the kick your ass thing. I'll go for a double. So I'll go for the dipper. And I'll go 6.9%.
I mean, we've spoke about minus points on other podcasts. I don't know whether I can do minus points on this podcast because you genuinely could not be any further away.
So it's a stout then.
It's a coffee and cherry imperial porter, 10%.
Oh, it's a big boy then.
The monster, and annoyingly, I kind of want to drink it. So these are all beers that I looked at and I think, yes, please, that is definitely on Matthew's order. Next one, it is Patron 2.01, Smoking Bees.
I really want to say, is it like a honey IPA or something like that? So I'll go honey IPA, and obviously lower than 10%. If you want an actual number, I'll go for 5.2.
Okay, Stu's googling it now.
I think I might have had this. It feels like a long time ago.
I think if it's number 2 in the series, yeah.
I don't know if it's fair that I do this because I have an idea as to what it is.
Well, you go last then.
You can finish us off.
Different podcast. Podcast.
I'll be around shortly. So
again, we've for want of a better phrase, we've slipped into podcast after dark.
I mean, I think we started as podcast after dark. Now it's rolling in, and it's been dark all evening. So
True that.
I'm American Pale Ale.
Hey?
6.2%.
Rightio. Stu, do you want to put them out of the misery?
From what I think, I remember that the label is predominantly white. I know that doesn't narrow it down. But I have a feeling it was part of the barrel aged stuff that they did. So I'm going to go barrel aged porter. And therefore it'll be high, so something around 9.
Okay, Stu does get it. It's a whiskey smoked honey porter. 10%.
I was.
When you said the honey thing, I was like, oh, okay, then let's see where Paul goes with this, and then you went IPA in the wrong direction with your 5.4%. Right. This is from one of the series that I enjoyed. Not this one, but another one. This is 3.05. Once, twice, 3 times a whale. It's there. Night out in Newcastle, that one.
Somewhere with a revolving dance floor in the middle of the river, to quote a... yeah.
I don't know anything about seeing that band last night. My feet still hurt. So once, 3 times a whale.
I don't think so. I read too much into names and stuff like that. So
Hey, the way you read into these things are, the whale is like a massive red herring of a whale.
So there's no
big red whale.
So there's no blubber in it and stuff like that. Okay. I think it could be a triple because of the once, twice, 3 times. So I'll go for a tipper, and I reckon you've sort of clocked onto a double figures section of beer, so I'll go for 11%.
Okay. Stu's got the honours, so do you want to let Andy go next, or do you want to kind of go last? Or go next?
I think for the fact that you said that's a red herring, I think it'll probably be something a little more in the bog standard region. So I'm just going to go for 5% IPA, just to throw it out there.
Go on, Mr. Cook.
I'm going stout 8%.
Right. So Andy's going to get that one because it is an 8.2%. It's actually a Mosaic IPA. I don't know where they got the 8.2% from, but that's an absolute monster of a beer. That whale, the whale theories, I can't remember which one I had, but it was dank, it was thick, it was absolutely delicious. Right, 6.06. What fools these mortals be? And that one is in the JW Hall of Fame of wanky beer names.
Might have had this one, possibly.
I looked at it, I saw it, I thought, oh, that's probably nice, and then ultimately I'll probably be disappointed in it.
I mean, there are a few things where I thought that, but you know.
Most of these things are my own doing, but I can't help these ones. And then, anybody want to go?
The silence is deafening.
Andy's got the honours, so he can choose either to go first or to wait to see.
I'm going in with a Goes 6.3%.
Okay.
You want up?
So, Stu or Paul, who's going to go first?
I mean, the faces that Stu's making, I literally cannot work out what he's trying to portray.
I think I've had this.
Oh, classic. Yeah, of course he has. This guy.
I'm gonna go. I'm pretty sure it was an IPA, and I'm pretty sure it was about 6.5%, something like that.
Okay.
So, because we haven't had one yet, as far as I'm aware, I'll go for a sour IPA, and I'll stick it around 6%.
6%. Stu gets that one. You're all very, very close. What fools these mortals be? Like I said, I always said, what beers have we drank together over the years and have always disappointed me?
It's a Brute IPA, right?
That guy right there. It's a white, great Brute IPA, 7%. And I was like, oh, if I just give it one more chance. I'm like, that kind of, I'm sure if I give him one more chance, he'll be good to me. But probably wouldn't be. Right then, last one, 12.04 in the patrons range. Evolution of Tradition. That's another one in the James Williams. It's probably not in the Hall of Fame. It's probably on the entrance, just to kind of like, oh God, once it really fucked me off. But it wasn't that bad. So, Evolution of Tradition.
I'm going with a porter at 10%.
Okay.
No, I reckon with the name, you'd imagine it's got to be like a fairly standard brew style. I think porter's a bit out there as a sort of a style of beer. I'll go with a pale ale, just a box standard pale ale, 4.2%.
Okay.
I think if you're going to read into the name, I don't think porter's as out there as Paul thinks it is. I think, although if you're going to go for a traditional one, I'm going to throw a bitter into that.
Oh, I hope, yeah.
And I'm gonna throw it in there at about 5%.
With his ABV being as close as possible, and I realised it's like the most pointless competition ever because I've not been keeping score the previous weeks. So I thought, this week I'm going to keep score. Taking it with the last two of Mr. Stuart Woodmansey. All right. It was actually a green hop IPA. So when Paul said IPA, I was like, all right, okay, we're in business here. 4.2% was a little bit low. Stu kind of jumped over the top with the 5%. That's the main thing that counts. All right. Then. Any other business before we have a little listeners review? And then some little spoilers for future pods.
All yours, mate.
Right then. So, very kindly, I don't know if Andy wants to kind of introduce this part of the section, because it was a friend of yours, wasn't it, Andy? Kind of, you were invited to kind of offer us their review of the month kind of thing, which is...
So very much like beer, podcasts are very sort of collaborative. Lots of collaboration going on in podcasts. As I've been saying for years, podcasts aren't made possible without these people here, and also they're largely made possible by our listeners. I've had a friend for many years who I noticed on sort of your traditional, your Friday, your Saturday, every now and then a Sunday if you've got a bank holiday coming up, is posting on Facebook what I would consider, from my not really knowing much about it perspective, very detailed, very concise, very well written reviews of what beers they are drinking on that day for that evening. Sometimes there's a bit of a theme going on. Sometimes there's a particular brewery. It's always accompanied by the can, a glass with the beer poured. It's and it's just always something that struck me as nicely done. They're not doing it for any other reason other than this is what I'm drinking at the moment. The other thing being is that said person, A.D. Wells, or as he's better known to his friends, A.D. Boo, he also gave the Pursuit of Hoppiness podcast a shout out because he took a recommendation some of your long-time listeners might remember, took a recommendation and thoroughly enjoyed the beer that he had taken a recommendation from. So I reached out to him. I was like, you can say no. I'm purely asking out of interest. Don't suppose you fancy doing a little bit of a write-up for a beer that you have enjoyed, series of beers you've enjoyed, just something that we can throw into the podcast to readers, listeners' choice sort of deal. He said it's something that would interest him, and a couple of days, maybe it was only a day later, he came back with what he has sent through, which as Matt is the host of the Pursuit of Hoppiness, I've sent through to you, sir, and I'm sure your reading out loud skills are a lot better than mine. So there we go. This is obviously the point in time where I say anybody is absolutely encouraged to throw the hat in the ring. A short write up for a beer, an essay write up for a beer. Same with all podcasts, and it's absolutely the same with the Pursuit of Hoppiness because of the community that surrounds the craft beer. It's quite strong anyway. So there you go, Matt.
Yeah, definitely. We're probably gonna move towards spoiling some of the breweries that we're gonna be tasting and reviewing anyway, because I think I'll probably get more people kind of involved and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I read this review and I was like, now I'm kind of scamming here with people if you think I'm reviewing beers, because this is excellent. So after some careful consideration and a lot of different beers this month, for example, Northern Monk's brilliant Death by Strike, the mighty Pomona Island and Lervig collab brew is something brilliant happening tipper. I read that, I was like, I want that so bad. Or Omnipolo's Bianca Blueberry Maple Pancake Lassie, also want that as well. There's been some stiff competition, but in the words of Highlander, there can only be one. This month's winner is Brew York for literally one of my favourite beers they've ever made. They've only gone and cranked it up to 11 and done a barrel-aged version of the John Visconti, the King of Brew York. This is their fourth iteration of their State of Mind series, and I know I'm being biased, but I don't care. This is one of the best ones they've done so far. For those who've never tried John Biscotti, why not? And seriously, why not? It's a really good beer. This is a very complex dark beer that is inspired by the traditional Italian biscuit. So it has a lot of nutty flavours of almond, pistachio, and hazelnut in a nice, smooth coffee stout. My personal fave is the important orange aftertaste. Honestly, there's so much going on with this brew. This particular version of the John Biscotti has been barrel aged in port barrels, and because of its full 12% ABV Imperial Pastry Stout, the aging process really gives this brew an extra added bada bing, and is truly worthy of the Godfather. The New York State of Mind series are super limited, but well worth it if you can find them. And there you go. Stu has the actual can. I mean that's exactly what we want. If you've got something to say about beer, we have something to say. Is it rambled? Is it sometimes half cooked because we've drank a 10.5% triple IPA West Coast one? Yeah, but we want people's contributions, because it's four of us shooting the shit about beer, but actually it's better if there's 40 of us shooting the shit about beer, or 400 of us shooting the shit about beer, or 4,000 of us shooting the shit about beer. I'd rather talk to different people and get different opinions, because I know I can be very close-minded, and after talking to 4 people about beer for 6 months now, my mind's been open to the possibility of low alcohol, alcohol-free beers, which I'm going to be honest with you, 12 months ago, I'd be like, I'm not drinking that. What's the point? Have a can of Coke. But it's kind of opened my mind up. So in the next kind of month or two, just to kind of, we want, if people have got contributions, if you're going to be a dick about it, we're probably not going to read it out. But the next two kind of breweries that we're looking at is we're looking at Mash Gang. Like we said, they were our next door neighbours when we were in Hop City. They do some excellent low alcohol beers. They've been very kind enough to send me an exclusive taster of one of their beers that I haven't opened yet. I'm going to open that on the actual Mash Gang pod. We have 2 orders of their recent brews coming through that we're also going to try together. So if you're a Mash Gang fan, that'd be fantastic. And also, please be kind, because this brewery is very near and dear to my heart. It's where I live. It's my local brewery. Some people may joke that I work there. I fucking don't. I just go there a lot. Well, the next one is Wylam. All right. So they're going to be the next 2 breweries up. So if you've drank Mash Gang, please let us know. Please let us know what you think about their beers. If you drank Wylam, which I'm sure you have, please let us know what you think about their beers, whether it's a one-off, whether it's their core range, whatever. Please send your reviews in via Twitter, via Instagram, via however, because we want people's contributions to it, because we can sit here and say what we think about beer, but like we said, it can be a little bit closed-minded at times, because we know what we like, as in a lot of things in life. We know what we like and you stick to it. But right then, so from there, more contributions, please. And thank you very much for listening. Right, so, good night, goodbye.
So there you go. What do you think to that? Another one done. All the beer has been drunk. Big thank you to everybody mentioned. Trembling Madness, AD, Brew York, Northern Monk, everyone. Big thank you to everyone. Big thank you to all the people on the podcast. Matt, Stu, Paul. Big thanks. Thank you to you if you're one of our lovely subscribers. It's a great feeling, isn't it? I know. You can subscribe wherever you're checking this podcast out, and it is a big help. Also, you can jump over to thecookiecast.com. Check us out over there. It's just a little website, but it does give our social media links and our email link. You can drop us a line. Let us know what you're drinking at the moment. So there we go. That's it for this one. Till next time, I'm going to say cheers, and I'll see you then.